Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is happening in the market, what we can expect going into the rest of this week and onwards. So as usual, if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I of course am not a financial advisor. And of course, also if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, updates, etc. Well, again, I do have a YouTube membership, guys. That link is of course down below in the description of the video where I share all my updates, again, as the market's open, trading every single day. So we'd love to have you there. If you click the first link in the description, you get access to this page, right? For the first tier, if you want to join, it's just $3 a month, but that includes all my Tesla updates, different time frame analysis, options flow, etc. And also includes, just broader market updates as well, SPY, QQQ, VIX, things like that. $5 includes NVDA if you're interested in the NVIDIA updates as well. Or for $7, you get the whole package, right? You get access to the first two tiers plus the third tier, which includes essentially other stocks in the market that are not Tesla and NVIDIA that I shared that are setting up nicely or have a nice looking charts. And of course, access to the private Discord where we have a tier three chat room, pretty active chat room as well. And every single Sunday, I do member chart requests as well. But yeah, jumping into a Tesla, closing the day with a nice, pretty respectable, we'll say 3.5%, just over 3.5%, closing at 445.23, which compared to the market, arguably is a bit of an underperformance, right? Qs, for instance, up 2.2%. So Tesla, technically should be up, nicely into the fours, in my opinion, of the percentages. So arguably a little bit of an underperformance today, right? Gave back some of those gains there, you can see, but not too shabby. But there is some major levels and things, I guess you can say, I'm watching for Tesla stock that will determine where this overall chop goes next. Because, it's worth understanding the fact that, this overall price action we've been in here for quite some time now has been extreme chop, extreme chop, right? Very, very large chop. And at some point it's going to break out, right? At some point we're going to break out higher or lower ultimately, right? That's how it goes, right? Once this chop comes to a conclusion. Now, there's a few major things I'm looking at and one very major thing I'm watching to determine which direction that chop will overall resolve in, essentially. Now, I just want to make it clear, if we resolve to the upside, I think at the very least a retest of all-time highs is pretty likely. However, if we resolve to the downside, I think a retest closer to the 370s, roughly, maybe close to the 360, the high 360s, around here somewhere, will be kind of that level I'll be looking for to the downside. So upside and downside. Now, how do we determine, right? What levels and what things are we looking at to determine where we could potentially go next, right? So to the upside, if Tesla is indeed bullish, which it did reclaim 440 today, which is a positive sign. There are some not positive signs I'll go over soon. But, if Tesla really wants to be bullish, and if this stock really does want to, at the very least, come back up and retest previous all-time highs up here, this trend line right here is the main thing I'm watching. This right here needs to snap, right? Below this trend line, I am personally not interested in the stock, short-ish term, we'll say, right? Above this trend line, if we can break above that, that is where I start getting interested. That's when I believe that this breakout can actually, has legs to it, right? Has momentum, bullishness to it. And that's what I believe will send Tesla, again, at the very least, to retest all-time highs, potentially even setting fresh all-time highs. But it's a big but, guys. It's a big but, right? And the reason I say it's a big but is because, well, going to the 1 hour very quickly first before I go back to the daily and explain the main thing I'm watching. Yes, there is some good signs short term for the 1 hour. We have a nice little move to the upside, little small bull flag setting up over here to head higher, right? Let me remove the Fibonacci's for now, just a little bit cleaner. Like, yes, there are good signs like that developing, right? And as long as Tesla ideally holds pretty much about 442, roughly 443, and also breaks about, we'll say 446 to 7. Yeah, I do think that, we have a good chance to come up higher. Short, again, this is like very short term, like the next couple of days or so, to about the mid to high 450s. That is very possible, absolutely. However, this is a small thing I'm watching. The bigger thing will be soon. Where do we actually go higher from here overall is this? It's still kind of that question because, so far we had this nice little move to the downside and we had a nice little move to the upside, rejected so far at the red Fibonacci's, at the 618 Fibonacci's. If this bull flag plays out, let me go ahead and do this actually. I deleted the Fibonacci back. Let me go ahead and do this quickly. If this bull flag plays out and we do play out this bull flag higher, which, wouldn't be surprising. Yeah, I do think we have a very good shot at coming up to the green fibs. Again, pretty much the high 450s, but that's where it gets very, very, very interesting for many reasons. Number one, that is the green fibs. It's going to be definitely a level to watch because, again, we're making higher highs, higher lows, and then this is a lower low, and this could just be a lower high being set up here with those green fibs. Maybe this is all she wrote too, right? We already have the red fibs, the 618 fibs. Sometimes that's all she wrote, right? That is a possibility. But if we reject, or if we play out this bull flag and we head higher, there is still that possibility of a retest of those green fibs. Again, high 450s. But like I said, that's where things get interesting for a multiple amount of reasons. Number one, again, green Fibonacci's. Number two, if we do head higher in the next day or two, that'll also bring us, again, guess what? That trend line breakout, yeah, pretty much sitting around 460. So those green Fibonacci's are just slightly short of where this trend line is sitting for that breakout on the daily time frame. So this would be a very, very important test if we get that extra push higher, something I'll be watching pretty closely. But the main thing I'm watching, and the main reason why I personally need to see Tesla show me strength, and the reason why I want to see Tesla, you know, I need to be convinced that it wants to go higher. One of those ways is definitely breaking that trend line. Is this, and this is where I want to bring out this screenshot I set up all the way over here, because this current price action does have a resemblance essentially to a Wyckoff distribution, right? This is something NVIDIA has done before. If I go over here and actually go to NVIDIA's chart right here, NVIDIA actually did a Wyckoff distribution right here, right? Pretty much the same idea. Nice little push up, right? I mean, again, you can just pause the screen and take a look at it for yourself. It's, you know, pretty close to what it looks like, guys. It's pretty damn close to what it looks like, right? So Tesla does have that potential that is doing something very similar up here as well. Again, pause the screen and take a look. It's pretty damn close in terms of resemblance, right? Massive move up, massive move up. That's pretty much right around here. Nice little fall, right? Massive move up, that's here. Nice little fall. Move up to make these new highs, move up to make these new highs right here. Nice little fall, that's right there. Then we pushed up to make even fresh new highs right here. Pushed up to make even fresh new highs right here. We did break these highs here ever so slightly. And then of course, then we reject, which is where roughly we are around here. Then we get that push up, and that's kind of what we're working on right now. Whether that's this or this, I'm not sure yet. Arguably the second one here actually, but nonetheless, right? And then of course that should be a rejection, and then we break that range down here, which will be that sort of low 14s, if you will. And then we head lower to about the 370 targets. That is kind of what that Wyckoff distribution suggests. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's going to 100% play out. There's nothing, you know, there's no guarantee in the market, right? You know, obviously at the end of the day, we wait for levels to be broken, but it's hard to ignore the fact that this just has a very strong resemblance to Wyckoff distribution. And again, you have to understand these kind of distributions exist to suck in as many people as possible up here before heading lower. And, you know, it's not supposed to be easy, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? The market it does these things on purpose to make it as difficult as possible. And again, just to suck as many people in as possible. Now, again, like I said, it doesn't mean that this is a guarantee. You know, nothing is guaranteed in this market, which is why, like I said, if we end up showing strength and breaking past key levels, like I said, pretty much about 460 / those green fibs, this trend line, etc., that does start to very much reduce the potential of this being a Wyckoff distribution and ultimately getting a rejection and heading lower. And instead, yeah, we had, you know, higher on bullish pressure. But this is where the real kind of strength, in my opinion, needs to really start to be shown on Tesla stock. Otherwise, this, you know, Wyckoff distribution, there's a very real risk for this, which can bring Tesla down to about, you know, give or take again, 370 or so. I can't fully ignore this possibility. So, hey, you know what? I'm just a messenger. So let's see what happens, and let's see how this actually plays out. Now, like I said before many times in the past, you know, if Tesla does indeed have that move down to about the 370s-ish, right, give or take, I still view it as very bullish. I know a lot of people are going to start getting very bearish and concerned and whatever. I still view it as very bullish because the monthly time frame, guys, looks extremely bullish. Now, you know, one of the reasons that I also like that potential move to the downside, if it of course actually happens, is because, well, the 9 EMA on the monthly time frame is sitting at 378.57. A retest of that will be absolutely perfect. Why? Because every time we've been too far away from it, we've come back down into it. Too far away from here, came back down into it. Too far, came down. Too far, it came down, right? And this would just be another one. Too far, came down. But again, the beautiful thing about this is the fact that even if we get this retest down to about, again, 370, 380, whatever, around there, right? I would view this as just nothing more than a monthly bullish retest, and most likely, as long as it holds this, which I expect it to, head higher after that, right? So something like this, right? So again, let's see, guys, let's see, right? You know, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, ultimately, right? But this is, you know, there is a very real sort of, in my opinion, at least, risk of this being a Wyckoff distribution. So let's see. Let's see how this plays out, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it can still take time. It doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, right? We can still get a lot of chop, small little push up, then maybe a rejection, get everyone bearish here, maybe get one more bounce up higher. You know, there's still going to be a lot of potential chop, right? I'm not, you know, this isn't going to happen tomorrow. This requires patience. And the thing with these Wyckoff distributions is that they chop around in such a way that it makes people frustrated, annoyed, FOMO'd in, bears and bulls at the wrong times. Again, these things exist. These systems, if you will, exist for a damn reason, because they work. Pretty simple stuff, right? At the end of the day. So let's see, guys, let's see. that's kind of my analysis, if you will, on Tesla stock in terms of what has potential to play out. But let's see, guys. Let's see how it plays out. But the market itself, though, the market itself is looking very, very bullish in my opinion. SPY, for instance, breaking above this trend line here, closing above it. More importantly, any pullbacks in the markets down here, I would view as very, very bullish. If SPY pulls back to about the 674-ish region, yeah, I would view that as very bullish and most likely just continue higher from there, if not right away. Either way, at the moment, at least, until proven otherwise, which if something happens, I'll of course let you know on the videos. Yeah, the market looks bullish. SPY looks bullish. Qs look bullish. Again, if Qs pull back a little bit here to let's say 614 or so, yeah, still very bullish in my opinion. I still think it heads higher, whether it's again right away or a small pullback and then head higher. Market looks bullish to me, right? It's hard to look at this market and not see at least some level of bullishness, to be completely honest with you, right? So I do view the market as being bullish, but again, you have to understand Tesla doesn't always follow the market, right? Tesla kind of just does its own thing, for better or for worse sometimes, right? Sometimes when the market's tanking, Tesla's rocketing, and vice versa. Market's rocketing, Tesla's tanking. The stock lives in its own world. That is, in my opinion, at least an important factor to consider. The VIX closing just above the orange line, still technically above it, but if the market, hangs on, I guess, strongly, if you will, tomorrow, and this thing gets stuck back under the orange line about 17.5 and starts holding down below that once again, that would be very bullish for the markets, and the markets can continue higher. It is still technically above it, so there is still a small chance that it gets one more little pop here for sure. Maybe that's what brings the market down, that small little retest and then head higher. Absolutely a possibility, but nonetheless, the market still looks overall very, very bullish, and yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Now, in terms of options flow on Tesla stock, pretty mixed throughout the day. Definitely more bullish than bearish, absolutely, right? In the morning, we had some nice, kind of mixed flow down here. You can take a pause on the video and take a peek for yourself. But, I did see some nice, decent bullish pressure come in around, afternoon, if you will, right after lunch, essentially, right? Nice bullish pressure for this week and next week. 460, 450 calls coming in as well. Then some bears started to come in a little bit there as well. And then towards the end of the day, I am seeing a bit more bulls come in, which is why, for instance, on the 1 hour time frame, yeah, it wouldn't fully shock me if we get this small little bull flag right here, little small bull flag right here playing out, head higher, retest 550 mid 550s to the high 560s. But then again, that's where I do view kind of that stronger potential test coming along as well for the stock. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it. Not much more to say other than that. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.